Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. And it finally happened. The Orlando Magic have been eliminated from the NBA playoffs by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and it went to Game 7. And not gonna lie, it was an ugly showing for the Orlando Magic. That third quarter was horrendous. They got outscored 33-15 in the third quarter. Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs combined for 3 of 28 from the field. So, needless to say, they didn't perform well. Paolo Banchero had 38 points, 16 rebounds, and shot 10 of 28 from the field. Not a good shooting day for the Orlando Magic, but it was their first ever Game 7. So, I'm going to give them the pass because it was their first ever Game 7, and, obviously they don't have the experience of playing in a Game 7. Donovan Mitchell does, and so do a bunch of other players on the Cleveland Cavaliers, guys like Karis LeVert and stuff like that. But I want to talk about this team because I feel like everybody is like, even NBA media is like, hyping up the Orlando Magic, like, oh, they're monitoring Paul George, and they're monitoring DeMar DeRozan, and they're monitoring Klay Thompson, and I'm just like, if I'm the Orlando Magic GM right now, okay, this is a team full of guys that only has one guy on their fucking roster that's over the age of 30, and that's Joe Ingles. He's 36. Gary Harris is 29, but he's an unrestricted free agent. Markelle Fultz is an unrestricted free agent. Jonathan Isaac has a partially guaranteed contract going into this upcoming NBA season, which if they cut him, they can save themselves $10 million, which seems like the more likely thing to happen. They might enter the season next year with Jonathan Isaac on their roster, but they're probably going to cut him at like the trade deadline or make a trade and then cut him in order to save themselves $10 million. But we're looking at a team with potentially $53 million in free cap space going into the upcoming season. They're going from about $130 million in payroll down to $104. And the cap space is $47 million, but if you cut Jonathan Isaac, okay, you're taking another $10 million off that 104. So it's just the idea. This is a team that's going to have an ass ton of salary cap space, right? And I'm just going to be honest. They're coached very well. They play defense. They have a lot of young talent. Even their core. I mean, if we look at their core, Paolo Banchero's 21, Franz Wagner is 22, Jalen Suggs is 22, everybody on the roster, Jet Howard's 20, Goga Bitadze is 24, even Wendell Carter's 25. I mean, there is not a single fucking person on this roster that is 30 years of age or older other than Joe Ingles. And Joe Ingles is a guy that they might not even bring back either because you're going to be paying $11 million to have a 36-year-old guy on your roster who is probably not going to play. And you can find yourself another savvy vet for the vet minimum that's not going to cost you $11 million. So this is a team that potentially has an ass load of cap space coming up for them in free agency, okay? Joe Ingles has a team option for next season, and I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando doesn't pick up that team option. So this is a team that's going to have a shit ton of cap space. So, of course, by default, everybody's saying, oh, well, Pascal Siakam, pretty much any big name free agent is on Orlando's radar. But, okay, this is a team that I would argue that going after somebody who's 34, 35 years old in their mid-30s simply doesn't make any fucking sense for them. Even Pascal Siakam, I have to ask, how much sense does it really make for them considering they have Paolo Banchero? If I were them, I'd be worried about bringing in Pascal Siakam because you might stunt Paolo Banchero's growth. Then on top of it, you look at Philadelphia, right? Philadelphia, nobody on their team is under contract except for Joel Embiid. Maxi's obviously going to get paid, and Paul Reed. And then they're gonna be the favorites to sign Paul George. I mean, so Paul George isn't gonna go to fucking Orlando if he can go to the 76ers, or Indiana, or a team that's has a real legitimate shot at doing something. Not to say that Orlando doesn't, but it's too soon. That's the problem with the Orlando Magic. It's too soon. The best player for them to target would be Brandon Ingram. Like, try to trade some of these guys on your roster who simply don't make sense. Guys like Anthony Black, even Cole Anthony is, I don't know. Cole Anthony's good, but he's a scorer. They need a playmaker. Anthony Black was a guy that I'm like, why the fuck did they bother with him when you already have too many guards? Like, why they drafted Anthony Black is beyond me. But they have Jet Howard, who's going to be getting more minutes next year. And everybody keeps saying, like, this is a team that should go after guys like Klay Thompson, DeMar DeRozan, Paul George, and so on and so forth. But none of these guys are going to want to go there. And B, it doesn't make sense for them from a team's perspective. Simply because at some point in time, you're going to have to re-sign Paolo Banchero. You have to re-sign Franz Wagner. You have to re-sign Jalen Suggs. Okay? At some point in time, you're going to have to shell out some money for these dudes. And if you look at the NBA free agency market this upcoming season, or this offseason, there's a lot of guys that they could maybe make some serious runs at. Even as a Pacers fan, like, it would make more sense for this team to go after restricted free agents than it would be for them to go after guys that are going to be in their mid-30s and aren't going to move the needle for you. It's like, even if they were to sign Pascal Siakam and Paul George, this is not a championship team. Like, yeah, you might be able to get yourself to the second round, or maybe even to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't think that's a championship team. You're asking this team to do a lot of growing up in 1 year's time. It's very possible that they do it. But I simply think adding just one guy like Paul George, or I don't know, Donovan Mitchell is supposedly out there somewhere. I don't know, maybe. But it's just the idea, like, there's so many people on this team's radar that are so far out of their timetable that it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, adding a guy in their mid-30s doesn't make sense for them. But what does make sense for them is going after guys that are restricted free agents that they can maybe pay a little bit more for than other teams would be willing to. Guys like Obi Toppin from the Indiana Pacers, right? Even though I'm a Pacers fan, Obi Toppin's a restricted free agent. Jalen Smith would be another guy for them to target. We're like, us as Pacers fans, like, as a Pacers fan, we're not going to be able to keep both of them. It would be smart for them to target a guy like Jalen Smith or Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin is more like Aaron Gordon than Jalen Smith is, and maybe fits what the Orlando Magic are trying to do a whole lot better than Jalen Smith. But, like, it would make sense for them to go after your Obi Toppins of the world who are restricted free agents, your Patrick Williams of the world who are restricted free agents, your Isaac Okoros who are restricted free agents, Precious Achiuwa, who's a restricted free agent, Emmanuel Quickley, who's a restricted free agent. You know what I'm saying? Like, go after guys that are going to improve your roster, but also fit your timetable. Don't go after guys that are in their fucking 30s because it doesn't fit your timetable. And I get it. I understand they're maybe, excited about all these other guys. Like Max Christie, he's a restricted free agent for the Lakers. Like, there's a lot of guys out there that they could go after and maybe just pay a little bit more than other teams are willing to. And suddenly you could have something kind of special to at least move forward. I think Emmanuel Quickley on the Orlando Magic with Paolo Banchero, Jalen Suggs, and Franz Wagner would be fucking ridiculous because Emmanuel Quickley actually passes the ball and he's a good scorer, right? You look at guys like Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin would be great for them because they run the break. Then even in unrestricted free agency, right? There's guys in unrestricted free agency that make more sense for them than guys like Klay Thompson or Tobias Harris or Pascal Siakam, or DeMar DeRozan. You got Gary Trent Jr. Gary Trent Jr. is an unrestricted free agent, and he's 25 years old, right? You look at guys like Malik Beasley. They need three-point shooting, right? Malik Beasley is an unrestricted free agent. He's 27, right? Malik Monk is 26. You need three-point shooting. Alec Burks is 32, but he's a guy that you could add that would add 3-point shooting, but you also might not have to pay a whole hell of a lot for. But Malik Monk would be a nice addition for them. He's a young guy that is also athletic and shoots the 3. But I think you get what I'm saying. Like Nicholas Claxton. Nick Claxton's an unrestricted free agent. Isaiah Hartenstein's an unrestricted free agent. Like, there's a lot of guys. Excuse me. There's a lot of guys entering unrestricted free agency that they could make a serious run at. Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is a guy that, for whatever fucking reason, I don't understand why the Hornets haven't re-signed him, but he's 26. Miles Bridges would be a fucking home run for the Orlando Magic. Miles Bridges balled the fuck out this year. I get that people don't like what he did, but, like, Miles Bridges makes way more sense for the Orlando Magic than fucking Paul George does, okay? He's 26 years old, and the dude can fucking ball. I mean, he plays defense. He gets out and runs. He can dunk. He can shoot the 3. He's a southpaw. I mean, like, these guys make way more sense for the Orlando Magic than whatever the fuck the media is putting in. Like, to me, I mean, call me crazy, but Miles Bridges makes more fucking sense than Klay Thompson, okay? Or Paul George for that particular team. Nicholas Claxton's out there. I mean, there's so many guys. Derrick Jones Jr. is 27. Even he would be an okay pickup. Like, excuse me. But there's a lot of guys out here in unrestricted free agency that are not fucking ancient that would fit their timeline and make them a better team. So when I see all these reports coming out that, oh, we're monitoring Paul George and we're monitoring Klay Thompson and we're monitoring DeMar DeRozan, okay, none of these fucking players want to go to Orlando, okay? I don't get why people are buying those reports, but none of these fucking players want to go to Orlando. If I'm Klay Thompson, if I'm Paul George, if I'm DeMar DeRozan, okay, I want to go to a team where I can fucking win. And right now, Philadelphia's at the top of that list. The New York Knicks are at the top of that list. Fuck, even the Pacers are in that conversation a little bit. If you're in the East, I'm sure that the Miami Heat are going to make a trade for somebody. Like, that roster's going to get shaken up. I don't think Jimmy Butler is going to be available, even though people are putting those rumors out there. I do not think that Jimmy Butler is going to be out there because he was injured for this playoff series. So, I mean, even Monte Morris isn't the end of the world for them, even though he's a little more further outside of their timeline. But it's just the idea. I think you get what I'm saying. Like, this is a team that needs 3-and-D guys and, you know, some playmakers and stuff like that. There's guys out there in free agency like that. Fuck it. I mean, even Tyus Jones, right, of the Washington Wizards, he's 27. Like, anybody under the age of 30, I think, is a win for this team. And if you can get anybody under the age of 25 or around the age of 25, that's a home run for the Orlando Magic. And then on top of it, like, you can bring these guys in. Like, there's so many unrestricted and restricted free agents that the Orlando Magic could go after, that they have enough cap space where they could bring in 1 or 2 of those guys that I mentioned. Like, honestly, if they could bring in Emmanuel Quickley, if they could bring in Malik Monk, if they could just bring in Miles Bridges and Emmanuel Quickley, that's a fucking win. I'm gonna call it's a fucking win. Jalen Smith is another guy. Like, there's a lot of fucking... Lonnie Walker the fourth, he played fucking amazing for Brooklyn this year. He's 25. Like, there are so many young players out there that I just simply don't understand why this team is trying to force it with a guy like Paul George and DeRozan when they could come out here and get somebody to help build with what they got. You know what I'm saying? Like, their 3 best players are all under the age of 25. Jalen Suggs is 22, Franz Wagner is 22, and Paolo Banchero is 21. Get somebody under the age of 25 to bring in to grow with that. You know what I'm saying? I think Miles Bridges makes so much sense for this team. It's fucking ridiculous. Goga Bitadze is a guy that they should definitely bring back. I will say that. Like, he's a guy that I think they should definitely bring in. And if you need a vet, right? If this team needs a vet, bring in Thaddeus Young. Fuck Joe Ingles, bring in Thaddeus Young. Thaddeus Young is widely loved across the league as a vet, even though he doesn't play. Like, teams love that guy. Pacers fans will tell you firsthand that he's a great vet. But it's just the idea, man. Like, there's so many other possibilities out there for the Orlando Magic that I simply don't understand the narrative that, like, they're going after guys like Paul George and DeMar DeRozan, because I'm like, it just doesn't fit their timetable. You know what I'm saying? And even if you add a guy like that, doesn't make you a championship contender. So these guys make more sense to go after. That's just my opinion on it. But tell me what you guys think down below in the comment section below. Like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.